Real Men Dance. Hello there YouTube. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new film starring Nick Frost, Cuban Fury, which came out yesterday, Valentine's Day, in England. And I went to see it by myself. Yeah. As I'm sure a few of you haven't actually heard of this one, as far as I'm aware there isn't actually an American release date as of yet. And it hasn't had a huge amount of publicity in the United Kingdom. And it's a very British-centric comedy film, so I don't imagine there's been any advertising in other countries abroad for this one. So I thought I'd give a quick, spoiler-free overview of this film. So we have this guy, Bruce Garret, who's played by Nick Frost, who, as a child, was a bit of a prodigy when it came to salsa dancing, and he was heavily involved in the UK salsa dancing scene. And on the night of a really big event for him, the UK National Championships or something like that, he ends up getting beaten up and bullied on his way there, and this event causes him to give up on salsa dancing, and he doesn't do it again. He just completely gives it up and never looks back. And then when we join our hero, it's about 25 years later, and he's just working a regular sort of 9-to-5 job. He's not quite in the same shape as he was when he was a child, and he's unhappy and depressed, and he's not enjoying his job. But then when he meets his new boss in his current job, the absolutely brilliant and the gorgeous Rashida Jones, he finds new reason to put back on his dancing shoes and attempt to reclaim his old life. Now, most of you will know Nick Frost, if you know him at all, but I assume you do. Most of you will know Nick Frost as the often sidekick of Simon Pegg, and star of films like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz and The World's End, all of which have mainly had Simon Pegg as the main character, and Nick Frost has been almost a wingman to Simon Pegg. And the issue, at least one of the issues that I had with this film, one of the main issues I had with this film, was, can Nick Frost do this by himself? I mean, sure, he's fantastic in all the films that I mentioned above, but he's always been the supporting funny guy, and he's never really had to carry a film by himself as a lead actor. So I was a bit worried about how he was going to be as the main character, and if he'd be able to dance his way out of Simon Pegg's shadow. And I've got to be honest with you, in Cuban Fury, he is like no other character you've ever seen him play. He's funny, definitely. He's very funny in this film, and he's certainly a key component to the comedy in this film. But he's quite clearly and obviously a lead actor in this film. He's really engaging as his character Bruce, and you really do feel for him. And I think especially in this film and with his character, a lot of the situations he faces in this film really do cause you to connect with him. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a colleague at his work who is sort of his competition for the love interest. And we all have a colleague like this, or a friend, or someone at school like this, who's an absolute twat. And Chris O'Dowd, who plays his rival, does this brilliantly. But we always have this absolute cock that always tries to get what we want or ruin what we have. And I think the inclusion of this character really does help you to connect with Nick Frost's character, and it makes him really likeable and really believable, and you really do support him throughout the film and really want him to win. And then in the place of where Nick Frost would usually stand, I feel, in a film like this, you've got a new character called Bijan, who is one of the fellow salsa dancers while Nick is learning to salsa again. And he helps Bruce get back on his feet throughout his journey. And Bijan is played by an actor called Kayvan Novak, who I haven't seen any of his stuff before. If you do recognise him, it's probably because of some of the TV work he's done. He seems to have done quite a bit of TV work, but there's nothing especially huge. And now, in my opinion, if there's any justice in the world at all, Mr. Novak will go on to do great things, because he is absolutely hilarious. And as good as Nick Frost is at being the supporting funny guy, Novak just takes it to another level. He's full on, straight up hysterical throughout the entirety of this film. And sure, a lot of it is how he plays off with Nick Frost's character, the more timid and more reluctant white British guy. But Kayvan Novak is definitely one of the major driving forces of the comedy in this film, and he does it so well. Every scene he's in, my entire theatre was just cracking up with laughter. And on the subject of the comedy in the film, it's labelled as a rom-com, and sure, it's technically got romance and comedy, which makes it a rom-com, but I don't think that quite does it justice. It's not like a lot of rom-coms where they just put in a bit of romance and they put in a bit of comedy and they just smash them together and hope that it works. The two sort of sides of this film, the two storylines, the romantic side and the comedy aspects, they just work so well together and so intricately together. And at the risk of sounding a little bit biased, I kind of feel that it's because it's a British rom-com, and I mean really, who can do awkward romance better than the British? It's just what we do. On the subject of romance, the love interest Rashida Jones is absolutely fantastic in this film, and she brings her own element of comedy to it. There's a hilarious scene involving a bike and a car which made the whole theatre again burst into laughter, and she is a truly engaging and stunning love interest for Nick Frost. And the cast as a whole, the supporting cast as a whole, Olivia Colman, Rory Kinnear and Tim Plester, are all really interesting to watch, and not one of them feels like they're shoehorned in or that they're just in there for the sake of being in there. Everybody in this film really works towards making it a better film, and they all work together so well and make it fit together so well. I mean, even the really obvious cameo that I assume you all know who it's going to be, but even the really obvious cameo was brilliant. It was subtle, it was short, if you blinked you missed it, and the timing of it was just absolutely perfect. So I think in terms of casting and characterization of all of their actors in the film, they did a brilliant job. Everyone is funny to watch, everyone is engaging to watch, you connect with all of the main characters, and they just bring it together so well. I think if this film has taught me anything, it's that Nick Frost certainly can, and perhaps already has, stepped out of the shadow that I think was cast over him by films like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz by Simon Pegg. And maybe not intentionally, but Simon Pegg has always taken on the role of leading man. But I think it's quite clear now that Nick Frost can do a serious leading man role if he needs to, in addition to the comedy that he brings to his films. And I thought he was genuinely a real standout in this film. And he was really able to bring out a huge amount of sympathy from me in one scene, and then in the next scene have me holding my sides in laughter. He was just so diverse and so entertaining to watch. So if you're a fan of Nick Frost and you want to see how good an actor he can be, I would definitely recommend you go and see this. I also heard, and I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard an interview on the radio where he said that he did most of, or at least some of, the dancing in the film for real. It wasn't a stunt double or a stand-in, it was actually him. And if so, I'm quite impressed, because some of the dancing in the scene, unless he's talking about like the practice dancing where he was rubbish, but some of the actual dancing scenes in this film are really complicated and intricate and good. And if he did any of those, kudos to him. That's very impressive. I do really hope that this film gets a release overseas, because although at the end of the day it is definitely a British comedy, I always think that they tend to go down quite well overseas, and the sort of humour that British comedy films have and bring to the table, I think is always fairly popular with overseas audiences. And this film is just full on, hit after hit after hit of laughter and humour. And I have to say, as much as I love seeing Simon Pegg and Nick Frost work together, I'm really interested to see what Nick Frost does next by himself, because I genuinely have no doubt that it's going to be great if it's anywhere near as good as this was. I really loved Cuban Fury, and I would definitely go and see it again. So if you have seen this film, what did you think? Did you find it as funny as I found it? What did you think of Nick Frost playing a leading man and his replacement as the comedy sidekick? If you're abroad, have you heard anything about a release date of this film? Because I think it would be a huge injustice if it didn't get a limited release, at least overseas. Anyway, let me know what you thought of it, whether you'd like to see it or not. And as always, if you liked what you see and you'd like to see more reviews, news and commentaries, then please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, I will catch you later. Get